Modern U.S. craft brewing history began in the 1960s, with homebrewing becoming popular through the 1970s and microbreweries in the 1990s. It's the last 10 years, though, where the Monadnock region has really blossomed, attracting tourists from across the country to come sample our brews. Let's take a trip to Outlaw Brewing in Winchester, New Hampshire to see how beer is made in Monadnock. What began as a backyard hobby has in 5 short years turned into a production brewery and tap house, seeing over 1,000 people a weekend. The brewing process starts with grains and ends with a glass of delicious beer. Malted barley comes unmilled in bags. It is milled into what's called grist just before brewing for peak freshness. Milling the grain as seen here cracks off the outside husk to expose the kernel inside. The precious fermentable sugars in malted barley are contained inside the husk of the kernel, and this material needs to be exposed for conversion into alcohol. The grist is then added to a vessel called the mash tun. Once the grist is added to the mash tun, the temperature is held for about an hour. This mashing process converts complex sugars into simple sugars that are more easily converted into alcohol. Once the mash is complete, a process called sparging rinses the sugars off the grain. Water is rained gently on top of the grain bed while draining that water from the bottom of the mash tun. This liquid, called wort, is collected and transferred to the boil kettle. The grain left behind is discarded and sent off to local farmers to feed their pigs and USDA beef. The wort is then brought to a boil in the kettle for both sanitization and to convert alpha acids in the hops into bitterness. After around an hour in the kettle, the beer is cooled, transferred to the fermenter tank, and the brewer pitches the yeast. The heat removed from the beer is used to heat the brewery through radiant flooring. The fermentation process begins to create alcohol. The bubbles in the bucket are carbon dioxide, a byproduct of fermentation. Once fermentation is complete, the beer is ready. Outlaw Brewing's canning line is mobile, so they can work together with other local breweries to can beer for them. The footage here is at Modest Man Brewing in Keene, New Hampshire. The in-feed table is loaded with cans with no label and no top. They are moved down the production line, flipped over, and rinsed. Next, they enter the filling station where they are purged of oxygen and filled with beer. The cans are then capped, seamed, and rinsed. The final steps are labeling and packing, then off to your local retailer or tap room. Outlaw was once the tiniest brewery in New Hampshire. Now, with the support of the Monadnock community, they are now distributed throughout New Hampshire and Massachusetts. Please like and subscribe to see more episodes, discover interesting manufacturing taking place in our region, learn more about some of our local businesses, and see what's being made in your town. Cheers from Outlaw Brewing, and we will see you next time on Made in Monadnock.